This is Chase. Full name, Chase Uta. He's currently a 6th grader at Bartholomew Junior High and is earning his black belt in karate class. He is from presumably Kanto, Japan and currently lives in whatever region this is. So before we talk about his life, let's talk about before the whole Fire vs. Water storyline came to be. Chase was one of the first Pokesonas I had, but after getting into roleplays that make me cringe looking back at them, I kinda changed everything since. He was this childish Charmander with a gas issue. I honestly didn't expect people to love him as much as they do now, but I'm slightly happy. I'm not really happy with any lewd comments regarding him because he's a kid. Or at least in the Fire vs. Water lore, Chase would be around 11, almost 12 years old, as the recent films Fire vs. Water 5 and Chase Goes to School take place in 2025. In Fire vs. Water 4, Chase's birthday was revealed when Hunter and Chase left in a ship and the boxes had the departure date July 20th, 2014 written in kanji. I remember seeing the departure date on the ship we wrote. It was in kanji, but it said 20th of July, 2014. That's when you hatched from the egg. You're 6, Chase. And according to Chase in Chase Goes to School, he was younger when he burned down Swampert's house back in Chase Moves In, and the number of years it's been since the events in the previous film Rescue isn't exactly revealed.
I just feel so stupid about burning down his house when I was younger.
But since some of the main characters evolved and are still talking about the previous events, which probably hasn't been that long, it's generally assumed that it's been around 2 years. So around that time period, that would make Chase 8 years old. Rescue and Chase Moves In are due for a remaster very soon, so that's subject to change. Outside of Fire vs. Water where Chase is a Pokesona, he is almost completely different. Hunter probably doesn't exist, and like other characters, Chase is unaware of the war, because the Fire vs. Water lore doesn't even exist. So it's hard to assume if Hunter is still alive or Chase is an only child, or adult in this case. Anyway, Chase was actually the result of the scaling option in the source filmmaker settings. I learned I could resize a character's body part, so I scaled the hip bone on the Charmander model, and it became the pudgy Charmander, or Charmeleon in this case, we know and love. Chase was originally going to be an annoying Charmander that bothered the starter Pokemon in any way. However, the original personality was slightly apparent according to Chase Moves In, Fire vs. Water 1 and 4. In Fire vs. Water 4, Chase was persistent on getting the second part of the comic book he enjoyed, and was tired trying to walk from place to place.
Hunter, my feet hurt.
You're too heavy to lift, Chase.
But they really hurt.
The fat Charmander collapsed on the ground whining.
Can we stop, please?
But I mean, come on. Cut him some slack for that last one. He and Hunter were homeless for 6 whole years. Now, Chase has a good relationship with a few people. His first impression with water-type Pokemon wasn't too great, since Chase was scared about a war starting between their kind and his. He's only known his brother for 6 years of his life, and never got to meet either of his parents. It's revealed in the short story and in Fire vs. Water 4 that Chase's mom died laying his egg, and his father didn't care for his young, only for his mate, which suggests that his dad might have been aggressively horny or something like that. That aside, Chase has a good relationships with the type he's weak against and effective towards. For example, he's friends with water types Dewott and Blastoise, the latter saving him from a trash can after part 3 of Starter Rescue. He even cooked with Marshtomp in Chase Moves In and starts dating Quest, who is also a Croconaut. And despite being beaten up by him, he is good friends with Jack. He was also used as a way to motivate Quilladin into exercising by Decidueye, and Chase was okay with it, minus the excessive sweating from Quilladin.
Make it up, he's all wet.
Chase may or may not be one of the kids that Mr. Park and Coach Elson barely even notice in class. Although Mr. Park did give Chase a warm welcome in Chase Goes to School. And in a deleted set of voice lines, Mr. Park knew that Chase would come to class after it came out that he was Hunter's brother, and all of the students, minus Jack, treat him with respect. This may suggest that Chase was presumed dead post-Firewater Civil War. Eddie had always wanted to meet Chase ever since he and a group of kids at a journalism school helped to write a newspaper article about the moment with him, Hunter, and Juno Bartholomew, which dates all the way back to Fire vs. Water 1. They both seem to get along, even though Eddie constantly bothers him in Quest by snooping around them, hoping to kiss. Coach Elson doesn't seem to bother Chase at all, and that is probably because he knows that Coach Rorenstein and Chase's brother killed Gabe Alphonse dating back to Fire vs. Water 1. So he might want to show respect to the brother of a late veteran. In fact, when Jack started beating him up, Elson stood from inside helplessly watching with Casper. Nurse Annabelle and Sylveon even take loving care of him, and it probably gave the former flashbacks on being unable to save Hunter. Casper is a bit of a guardian angel towards Chase more than anyone else. He was probably the first person to know Casper's backstory, and later in Chase Goes to School he possessed his mind so that Hunter's soul could talk to Chase. Jack didn't like Chase because he believed fire types murdered his father and plotted to kill them all once he grew up, He starts by beating Chase with a bat during recess and actually believes he killed him, which freaked him out, and gives him flashbacks to Fire vs. Water 2, where he does the same thing to Geo, for a totally different reason. Eventually, learning that fire types didn't kill his father, Jack apologizes and tries to make things right for him. Aside from Jack, Chase was also bullied by It's a Bully, and his way of getting out of being bullied was to pass gas, which didn't faze Bully or Jack, but it did make Miss Engel mistake the noises for her own, thinking she was doing it uncontrollably. Quest thinks he's cute and a better person than Jack, and they both get along as they have some things in common, like they have a brother who went to war, both can't stop passing gas, and they're pudgy. That's basically it. The remaining characters don't seem to interact with Chase in other films, so that's all there is to it. So that's everything to know about Chase himself and his best friends and all that. Now let's go into the complete history of him. Chase is first seen in Fire vs. Water 1, which takes place in 2020. He comes into a comic book store wanting to read the next part of his favorite comic. According to Fire vs. Water 4, he really loves comic books. However, this was at the time where the region mandated all trainers to leave the fire-type Pokemon alone, since most of them are being drafted as soldiers to fight against innocent trainers during the Fire-Water Civil War. Prior to this, and revealed in the short story, Chase and his older brother Hunter fled their native land. In the short story, we get an idea of what Chase's family was like. In 2014, after laying Chase's egg, his mother fell ill and died. Before her death, she tells Hunter to take the egg and leave his neglecting father. Hunter's dad guides him to a cliff and tells him to throw the egg off since he believes it's a curse on the family. Hunter refuses and instead jumps off with the egg. Both miraculously survived. So, Hunter follows the star which he believes is his mother guiding him, and makes his way to the docks. He sleeps in the box with the egg, and in the morning he wakes up to find that his tail had been cuddling with it. Oddly enough, this assisted in incubating the egg, and Chase immediately hatched, because that's how it works. Then, Hunter hides with his baby brother in a ship, and they end up in the current region. And from here, when Hunter said that he was worried that his father would be chasing him, the Charmander replied with the word Chase, and that became his name. In Fire vs. Water 4, Hunter revealed that Chase's name is a reminder for him to keep moving forward. So, when they make it to the region, they spend 6 years in the wild. No trainer has ever come across them. Eventually, Chase learns how to walk and talk, perfect for him to complain about constantly moving. At last, they find some other Pokemon, who Hunter thinks are also stowaways, a Delphox and an Arcanine. They help Hunter and Chase hitch a ride on the train and are heading to wherever it's going. But the Delphox and Arcanine are actually going to the fire team space, and from there, the brothers learn about the Fire-Water Civil War. The Arcanine offers them to join, but Hunter said no. Later that day, they make it to a ghost town, which has a comic book store, a bakery, and other empty places for the brothers to enjoy, but they quickly grew tired of it. They catch another train and end up in a civilized part of the region. From here, Hunter learns that it's July 20th, 2020, and Chase is officially a 6-year-old. Chase wants the next part of the recent comic as a birthday present, leading up to the brothers meeting Juno Bartholomew as a Wartortle. After a public act of kindness and boycotting the mandate, Juno gives Chase the comic for free. So, Juno and his second trainer quit their job, take Hunter and Chase into their home, and Juno enlists to the water team of the Fire-Water Civil War. During the war, he is shot in the knee and writes a letter in case he dies. Chase's brother writes a letter back to him which tarnished Juno's image to the water team. The general is so distraught that instead of discarding Juno, he commits suicide. Conveniently, the water team is rescued by the grass team thanks to Chester Alcatraz, or Jack's father. There, Juno asks to enlist Hunter. Hunter arrives joining a group of fire-type spies and is immediately tasked to assassinate Gabe Alphonse, leader of the fire team. He and the Torcat murder the same Delphox and Arcanine seen in Fire vs. Water 4, then poisoned Alphonse, who was still awake trying to think of a plan. The pair succeeds, and the spies flee, setting Alphonse's room on fire in the process. Sadly, on the last battle, Hunter sadly died after getting flushed by the water spewing out of the fire team space thanks to the water team. Hunter unfortunately dies, and Juno has to tell the news to Chase. Juno returns home earning a cape Chase made with Hunter. Chase soon finds out that Hunter is gone. And on his funeral, Chase salutes as his brother's casket lowers, but runs away with grief, getting lost and hungry in the forest. He ate wild fruits which gave him gas pain that lasts 5 years of his life. Chase eventually realizes that his name is a reminder to keep moving forward, and that's exactly what Chase did, literally. He wanders the forest until he went out into the city, and into the suburban area, where he slept in a trash can. A Squirtle finds him and decides to take care of him, accompanied by a Bulbasaur and another Charmander. By now, these Kanto Starters already took out the anti-Pokemon Mafia from Starter Rescue. About 2 years later, the Kanto Starters evolve and decide to let their old Chespin friend, now Aquilodin, to take care of Chase for whatever reason. Quilladin didn't have an enjoyable experience with Chase, since he was on the former's head in order to exercise after a talk with Decidueye about evolving. Chase apologizes in hopes that Quilladin can forgive him. He does, and since his friends really like having Chase around, Quilladin decides to work on a project with him, where they make an impressive gift for breaks into Marshtown that we never got to see. All we do know, however, is that it burns down the house. Chase takes the blame, but Marshtomp loses his cool and punches Chase. Chase burns Marshtomp, but runs away after being embarrassed and sad. Chase roams around the city and sleeps in an alleyway, and manages to set a building on fire accidentally. He's captured by Animal Control, who are either Fire Team soldiers or anti-Pokemon Mafia members. Dewott finds out about this, takes everyone to the zoo, which doesn't look like one according to Dewott himself. They sneak in, Bergson sets the building on fire, Quilladin runs out with Chase, Marshtomp apologizes, and they head home. 3 years later, Chase feels bad about burning down Swampbird's house 3 years ago. Sylveon decides to enroll him in school to make him feel better since Chase kept calling himself stupid. Once he enters schools, the students realize he's Hunter's brother. While at school, he's introduced to Playtime's robot, First Prize, begs Pinky to stop torturing Hammond and Dedenne, learns that Eddie was the reason people know his brother's story, and that Quest also has a brother who is also a veteran and immediately falls in love, in an awkward situation. During recess, Jack starts calling him fat, but Geo and Pinky humiliate themselves to make him stop. Chase eventually learns that Jack is a stupid bully and that he deserves a lesson, which Pinky takes care of. In class, Chase accidentally rips one breaking the classroom silence and Pinky clarifies it wasn't her. Casper takes the blame and Marcus sends him out. Casper has to go outside to do his work just to release some more gas. Then he meets Casper, who offers help on subjects. In the library, Jack comes back to bully Chase with "It's a Bully" and learns that Jack is only shaming his kind for killing his dad, which he believes. Chase notices there's a book over Jack's head and that's because of Marcus. Marcus starts to torture Jack, which gets the latter into trouble. After school, he admits that he's in love already. Quilladin and Sylveon are excited that they show up the next day when they drop him off. Quest and Chase started to hang out some more, but Jack tries to break it up. Later that night, Casper invites him over to his place, where he learns that Casper kills unwelcome visitors on his mother and stepfather's property. And then, he finds out about Casper's past, and why Jack holds a grudge against him. Shockingly, Jack and Casper are technically brothers since the latter's stepfather trained the former's father. The next day, Jack beats up Chase and passes out from the head trauma. He successfully recovers after Casper managed to get Hunter's soul to talk to him. Chase finds out he's back home thanks to Sylveon. Later in the film, he learns that Raichu and his sister Selena, also known as Thunder, were prisoners of war. He comforts Thunder, saying that their trainer would have been happy with her survival, and what her Pokemon will do after the war. When Chase goes back to school, Mr. Park reads a letter to class. Pinky teleports Jack to school to prove he was truthfully sorry. Chase accepts Jack's apology, and they hug. Despite all that, Chase considers school to be the best thing to ever happen in his life. Now in the summer, Quilladin and Sylveon agreed to give Chase karate classes so that Chase can easily defend himself. When he and his friends transition to junior high school, they learn that Mr. Park can't teach them and that Poplar Elementary will be shut down due to exorcism. Mr. Park comes back early from his vacation to learn that Casper was kidnapped by the anti-Pokemon Mafia. He breaks up everyone into groups to go and rescue Casper. So, Chase partners up with Eddie, Marcus, Pablo, Miguel, and Mr. Park and try to rescue Casper and look for souls. When Mr. Park finds a new pathway to another city, it's actually under a garrison by the tankmen from Newgrounds. Marcus sneaks everybody to the city, while Mr. Park distracts the captain. While in the city, Chase kicks down a light pole and crushes another tankman. When the gang leave the garrison city, Chase remarks that Hunter once told him that teenagers are the worst, and that preteens are equally as bad. When Thunder's team finds a soul first, Eddie suggests going to a canyon, where the mine that once led to a club he used to attend is permanently sealed, and that 2 planks from the building formed across a memoriam. Chase comforts Eddie knowing the truth behind the club. Later in the film, Chase warms up his team with his flaming tail and promises that passing gas is only for laughs. Mr. Park finds out that Coach Elson and Thunder's teams are in jeopardy, but find out that Elson's team is going to where Casper is. When they find out it's heavily guarded, Chase suggests using Eddie to stink them away, but decides against it since everyone wears masks. It's actually a joke, which Eddie didn't seem to like. When Marcus comes back from traumatizing all the guards and finding out that everyone is easily escaping, Chase's team return and camp out in the Chester Alcatraz subway, while Pablo and Miguel are asleep, which is the exact subway all the way back, and Chase moves in. While Chase and his team waits, everyone else arrives, including Sam and Max. Casper orders everyone to ride the train to another mine which happens to lead to where his stepfather used to live. The train runs out of fuel, but Marcus and Casper possess it and make it go so fast that it crashes in an explosion once they meet their destination. According to Pinky, everyone survives thanks to her force field, but slept for hours. Marcus returns with Geo and Thunder and prepare themselves to fight back against Red Guy and his army. Pico barges in from a helicopter and joins the cast, along with the Tankman, Team Fortress 2 Mercs, Jevil, Sans, Baldy, and Golden Freddy. Chase uses his karate skills and his gas to beat up a combine. Later on, he and everybody else except for Pico's team, Marcus, Casper, and Eddie, hide back in the mine when Red Guy opens the true Necronomicon. But since a Mimikyu wrote the entirety of the book, its language is indecipherable to humans and unfit for their mentality once they open it, which kills every villain. When the class debates on whether to continue the competition, Coach Elson calls for 3 different members. They end up being Vincent on his team, Marcus on Chase's team, and Playtime on Thunder's team. And that's the end of the story so far. So will Chase have yet another significant role to Fire vs. Water 5? We can only hope. Let me know in the comments which character to summarize next, and I'll get to it soon. Thanks for watching.